comment, and I give the floor to the representative of Pakistan.
Thank you, Madam President, for convening this yet another emergency meeting of the Security Council. And I would also like to join colleagues in thanking the Secretary General for his remarks. You couldn't be clearer than that, Secretary General. Thank you. I would also like to thank ASG Shenka and Director General Grossi for their important briefings. Madam President, when the Security Council met for the second time last Friday, following Israel's wanton continuing aggression and unprovoked strikes against Iran, many members warned the international community of this grave violation of the UN Charter and the risk of dangerous escalation. We have heard the same today around the table from Council members as well as the Secretary General and other briefers. But tragically, developments over the past 24 hours have only confirmed those warnings. And it is unfortunate that the universal calls for de-escalation and a peaceful resolution of this crisis through dialogue have remained unheeded. From the outset, Pakistan has adopted a principled position on these developments, a position based entirely on international law and the UN Charter. We have thus strongly and unambiguously condemned the Israeli aggression, expressed solidarity and full support for Iran's inherent and legitimate right of self-defense in conformity with the Charter of the United Nations, denounced the unlawful Israeli unilateral strikes on IAEA safeguarded Iranian nuclear facilities, called for bringing an end to this aggression, advocated cessation of hostilities and for reverting to dialogue and diplomacy for a peaceful, lasting settlement of the Iranian nuclear issue. In recent days, Pakistan's leadership, including the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister, has remained actively engaged in promoting those objectives through numerous and continuing contacts with leaders of other countries and our partners across regions, all in the interest of preserving international peace and security and in fulfillment of our responsibility as a member of the Security Council. The Council of Foreign Ministers of the OIC meeting in Istanbul has echoed the same call for ending the aggression and supporting de-escalation and a peaceful settlement. It is in this context that we are seriously concerned by the recent developments that have further heightened tensions. Pakistan has condemned the US strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, which come on the heels of a series of brazen attacks by Israel on the nuclear sites. Let me recall that specific targeting of nuclear facilities under IAEA safeguards constitutes a clear breach of international law, the IAEA statute, multiple IAEA resolutions, as well as Security Council Resolution 487. And according to Article 25 of the Charter, the members of the United Nations agree to accept and carry out the decisions of the Security Council in accordance with the Charter. That responsibility to carry out the decisions of the Security Council is heaviest with the members of this Council, particularly the permanent members in the first place. Madam President, we are deeply alarmed by the escalating situation. The sharp rise in tensions and violence as a result of the Israeli aggression and unlawful actions is profoundly disturbing. Any further escalation risks catastrophic consequences for the region and beyond. Pakistan stands in solidarity with the government and brotherly people of Iran during this challenging time. Madam President, these attacks set a dangerous precedent and pose a grave threat to the safety and security of populations across the region, and indeed the world. As the body entrusted with primary responsibility for the maintenance of international peace and security, the Security Council must act urgently and decisively. We share a collective responsibility to, first, unequivocally reject and condemn the attacks against the Islamic Republic of Iran since 13th of June, being in clear contravention of international law and the UN Charter. Threat or use of force must never be condoned. Article 2(4) is crystal clear in this regard, and so is Article 51. Second, denounce the attacks on IAEA safeguarded nuclear facilities, which violate Security Council and IAEA resolutions as well as international humanitarian law. Third, reaffirm the obligation to protect civilian lives and property on both sides. All parties must adhere fully to international law, particularly international humanitarian law. Fourth, call for an immediate cessation of hostilities and a complete ceasefire. Fifth, promote urgent recourse to dialogue and diplomacy consistent with the purposes and principles of the UN Charter to find a peaceful and lasting resolution to the Iranian nuclear issue. Madam President, in pursuit of these objectives, Pakistan has joined China and Russia in circulating a draft resolution. Among other things, this resolution calls for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire, urges all parties to refrain from further escalation, demands the urgent protection of civilians and civilian infrastructure, and supports a diplomatic path forward on the Iranian nuclear issue that is acceptable to all parties. And listening to similar concerns and priorities expressed by many of the Council members today, we sincerely hope that the draft resolution will receive the Council's support, enabling it to respond with unity and resolve urgently and effectively in line with the gravity of the situation. And Pakistan stands ready to engage constructively with all Council members in this regard. Madam President, the Middle East, already burdened by prolonged instability, history of Israeli illegal occupation, and continued denial of the Palestinian right to self-determination and statehood, cannot absorb another crisis. We must act now to prevent the situation from spiraling further out of control. History has taught us that the use of force and unilateral military actions only deepen conflicts and entrench divisions, with tragic human and humanitarian consequences. Dialogue and diplomacy remain the only path forward. These must be pursued with seriousness and sincerity by all. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Pakistan for his statement, and I give the floor to the representative of Algeria.
Madam President, I would like to thank you for the prompt scheduling of this meeting. I thank the Secretary General